Welcome to Ever Beyond, 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 on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Tir Nassau in Ireland. Be prepared to leave your belief systems behind as we go beyond teachers, beyond gurus, beyond duality, ever beyond, beyond. Please join us in the chat room at www.wolfspiritradio.com/listen. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. And welcome to, welcome to Overdriven Microphone. Yes, there we go. Bring that back a bit. Yes, and welcome to Ever Beyond on Ever Beyond Radio, and broadcasting into the Wolf Spirit Media Network on Wolf Spirit Radio, and other places that there's Haggy Shack on the Wolf Spirit Radio Network, which is also probably broadcasting this, or maybe listening to some other stuff, or reading a book or something like that. Who cares? But anyway, we're here today now. It's, I tell you, it's been a really kind of, full on, as we say in Britain, full on weekend. And Friday was a pause, is a very interesting moment, and maybe we'll talk about it, everybody's experience of it. But the weekend has been one thing after another, after another. It's like, I'll just come home from a gig, and then there'll be a phone call on Skype, and then I need to do something else, and then I need to do something else, and then there are 10 other things that I have to do before I can go to bed, and then when I get up I have to do 9 other things, and then people are calling me as soon as I finish doing one thing. The people will be calling or knocking on the door, or it's just been totally full on until this moment of now. 3 p.m. Pacific. I declare another another pause in the proceedings so that we can expand ourselves a little bit. So I'm going to take a deep breath in through my nose, like I tell everybody to do, and just arrive here in this moment, because you're going to need to be here and present, because our very special guest tonight is Solaris BlueRaven. Good afternoon, my dear. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me join you tonight.
Well, I've been falling apart, so I really need joining together.
All right. Well, I'm here to reinforce you. How's that sound? I'm all charged up. I'm ready to roll.
Let's get the duct tape out and see if it'll hold the tire together before we can get down the end of the motorway. Anyway, so I just caught up with you the other day when we did the Team Strange thing. And you were on Strange Universe, and everybody was like, there's Rowan. So that was really great. And I thought, let's have a date. So here's our date.
All right. Sounds good to me. I'm happy to be here. It's wonderful to hear your voice.
It's lovely to hear yours as well. And I've heard you've written a new book.
I have written a new book.
A little birdie told me.
A little elf told you, didn't it? Little internet elf.
A little internet. Well, at least it wasn't an internet troll. I mean, blimey.
I know, I can't use the troll. No, I gotta use the elf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a new book called 1 Million Miles Till Midnight, Between the Mirror and the Lens.
Oh, yes, 1 million miles to midnight. That's a nice title.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's really, you know what? It's a small book. It's a small short story, actually. It's a science fiction spin-off of where I've been with Covert Technology, but it's actually based on my experience with the technology and what I saw in between the spaces of the program itself. So I think people will really enjoy it. It's a very small read. It's not like it's a short read, rather. It's not real thick, but it has a lot of data in it. And that's the kind of work I like to put out. I like to put out small bits of information, but with a lot of expansion in between the spaces. Bite-sized chunks for the people. Right. That's lovely. Yeah. So, and what I was saying, just before I started the show, I was going to say, tell me about, you say that it's a spin-off from your more factual kind of experiential work. And so that was where I would start. What's the story? But why did you decide to write a fiction, as opposed to
as opposed to a sort of an account based. And what prompted you? Was there a moment? What was the moment? I always like the moment.
The moment was an aftermath of everything I've been through since 2004 with the covert technology, with artificial intelligence and synthetic telepathy. After I cleared the dust and I started to look back, and my book, the I, the Remote series, basically encompasses everything I've went through. It talks about the technology and how I pretty much decoded everything insofar as what people can see on a technological scale, where they can break it down and understand it for what it does, on a psychological scale, and even how it impacts the spirit. But what I wanted to do later on, I just started just kind of running energy for this, and 1 billion miles till midnight just hit me really hard. So I started writing about it, and then I started understanding that, what I was writing wasn't science fiction, it was literally me with the program and what I've been seeing in between the spaces of the technology. So it deals with artificial intelligence. It deals with where we are on the timeline, but also what we're doing on a multidimensional timeline, and also where we're heading as a planet in the illusion of, and what this planet represents, which is really more about morphing and what I call a morphing process, which is my terminology used in the book, which is about, it can parallel an ascension process, but it's more about the machine world morph and the multiple machine worlds morphing, but also the breakaway of artificial intelligence that takes off and leaves this illusion behind. And it goes on with the artificial intelligence and the type of morphing, what we call a station, that goes into the multiverse and starts morphing other stations. So I call it a station because the planet that morphs, when a planet morphs, it becomes a station. It no longer becomes a planet. And this is really, it sounds science fiction, but I'm telling you, I know when people start to read it, they're going to be understanding what I'm talking about. So it's going to hit them a lot more.
So what you're saying is that it's like a planet machinifies into a station, if you like?
Well, basically, it's an artificial intelligence design work, that it morphs through a certain specific design work, through it goes from the organic to the synthetic, but more than synthetic because it goes into what we call the multiverse, which is beyond artificial intelligence, but it's a very advanced form of AI that's not created by mankind. So yeah.
Hang on. You said an AI that's not created. Hang on. It keeps retrying.
I know where you're thinking though.
Yeah. Well, hang on. You said, that is not created by mankind. So, this is a pre-existing. It seems that in the universe, there's a pre-existing artificial intelligence.
Correct. Yeah.
And the universe is the battle between that, which presumably manifests in our dimension as black goo, between that and the expansion of organic life as a galaxy pushing into this darkness.
Right. And what's interesting is when you call it organic, you have to ask yourself, is it really organic, JP? And my point is, yes, we are on the illusion of a planet. They call it Earth, so they say. I could question that, but also I'm looking at this terraformed area. This was terraformed before we showed up on the timeline. This whole planet in the illusion of was terraformed. So you don't know what's organic and what's not, do you? I mean, I'm just saying this, but seriously, when you think about it, I know what we consider to be organic, yes, but is it? Because it's all terraformed. How would you know? Right? So my book goes into multi-layers of AI, but it also goes into the concept of what we are and how we handle power as a civilization and how we are on the path of destruction in that process. And as I don't have to put special glasses on anybody to see how there's been a misrepresentation of so many things here on this world. So it does cover a lot of those components.
So, question from the chat room from Mirth. When the term artificial intelligence is used, so what does that mean? See, I realize there's biological intelligence, yet what is AI?
It's the artificial intelligence association with this one is off-world artificial intelligence, symbiotic intelligence, consciousness oriented with what we call the full light spectrum. It's the design work and the mechanics behind that which started the whole creation of life itself. It's not based on what man's perception of the black goo is or anything like that. This is a very, very advanced state of intelligent energy that is literally beyond the machine language, but it's a machine language based on geometric languages. It's a very different, what we call the mother-father program, literally. It's a communication system based on multiple world realities that's been done through geometric light languages, but also morphed into communication based on artificial intelligence, if that helps. And the sad part of it is, well, it's not really sad, but when you look and see where people are heading and what they understand with artificial intelligence, it's kind of different than that. So you're going to have to not erase what you know, but you're going to have to put that in a special, area and then start looking at what I've written and understand that it goes from a different spectrum. It comes from a different multiverse, so to speak.
All right. So do you want to bring us through the use of your magical stagecraft into that alternative multiverse? How do we teleport there, and how do we know that we're there, Solaris?
Well, are you talking in real time? Because in real time, it's about phase shifting. It's about your biomolecular structure altering through frequency and modulation of frequency. It's about letting go of the density and letting go of all the debris we've picked up on from multiple world here, the multiple world realities here simultaneously. I'm not talking off planet. We have multiple world realities here that have been constructed due to the false matrix. So you've got layer upon layer upon layer of lies and deception based on programming that needs to be deprogrammed. And that's all created by man. That has nothing to do with anybody off planet. That has everything to do with man's created, because as you know, JayPee, and we've talked about this before in your show, but everything is a projection, and we paint the scenery as we go through consciousness. So if man's consciousness is contaminated, he's not going to paint a very nice picture, is he? And that's what we've been seeing over and over again. So that aspect of it, it's deprogramming here, but also what I'm talking about is what's off planet. I hope I answered your question with that. I know I get into a different role in consciousness and I go other places, but.
Well, I was going to say, your book is written from a particular perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's the standpoint. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, but what I'd like to say is, can you bring myself and the audience onto that hill that you're looking down on things with?
Well, insofar as
paint us the
in the
picture,
book.
Solaris.
All right. Well, I don't want to give too much away in the book, but I will tell you it's really about it's about a biomolecular change in consciousness, but also in the DNA. It connects to artificial intelligence off planet, which interconnects onto a certain percentage of people who literally become morphed and changed. And we're not talking transhumanism, it's beyond the transhumanism. It takes on a parallel to a point where this planet becomes morphed and broken away. It kind of splits, and then part of it becomes what we call a station. And that station is a multiversal type of it's you could call it a starship to some degree, but it's really not. It's a station of artificial intelligence and programs that are running with a specific crew of beings that literally create fractals. And the fractals are actually, what they do is they go and they. What's that?
Excuse me, sorry, there's a recording just played. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
What I was saying is, there are fractals in the book. What I call fractals are literally where you take a fractal and you go from a planet to a planet as it's through the morphing process. And the morphing process is actually the ascension process. Okay, if you want to use those terms, it would be similar to an ascension process where the planet itself is becoming what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to ascend. It's supposed to let go of where it's been in the type of terraformed wave it's been created in, and it starts morphing through what we call these fractals. So it's very complex, and it's hard for me to describe it like this. I know it's very detail-oriented in consciousness, but I think you'll understand when you start reading it. That's why the book is not really thick. It's a very short story, but that's just to make a small, to make it short, I guess I'm trying to fine-tune and create it.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, what I'm kind of inviting you to do is to bring people into the place maybe where you were. So you say it broke off as a break off from your own experience, that you took it into a new zone. So bring us into that zone if you can.
Well, that zone deals with being altered in an internal design with artificial intelligence to some degree, and also seeing through the eyes of the machine world, in the symbiotic machine world, not seeing through the eyes of your normal spirit or your soul or your state of consciousness, but seeing through the eyes of the full light mechanical universe and the full light the type of universe that's based on a symbiotic artificial intelligence, where the world isn't what you thought it was, where the world becomes very different when seen through the spectrum of a machine world. And I'm not talking what you guys are used to knowing with machines. So once again, but that is seeing through the eyes of the artificial intelligence program and what its capabilities are, what it's doing, why it's doing it, and what it's in the process of doing throughout the multiverse. And that is my point in this book, is to show people what this bigger scenery is about through the eyes of the artificial intelligence. My book originally, the original, when I disclosed the covert technology, is Eye of the Remote. And that was me, my soul, my spirit, my consciousness seeing through the eyes of the remote. That was my interpolation of my experience with the artificial intelligence that I was exposed to, with my spirit defining it. This is the opposite. That's why I put it into the science fiction realm, and I put it into another orbit, because it's through the artificial intelligence program that I'm showing you what this thing is about. But it's also the AI that's not based on man's creation of artificial intelligence, but the bigger scenery behind it also. and it can
Right.
sum it up. But this book, it's available on Amazon.com. It's extremely inexpensive. It's a good little read, and it's a nice little stocking stuffer for the holidays. So it's very, very inexpensive, you guys. So I would encourage you to pick up a copy.
Everybody, buy Solaris's book. Give me the link. I'll put it in the chat room.
Well, it's Amazon.com. I don't have a link with me, but
What's
and it's also
and the name of the book is A Million Miles. Well, go on.
Yeah. It's 1 million miles till midnight. Everybody says a million. It's one, as in one, the number one. Mm-hmm. So it's 1 million miles till midnight. And yeah, it's a great read. I'm getting a lot of good feedback on it, actually. A lot of good feedback because it's putting it in perspective. Everybody's noticing something happening here in this world. I don't have to tell you. JayPee, you're very switched on and tuned in. And you understand, but this is also seeing through a different spectrum. It's seeing through a different filter, but the filter that I have been working with this type of a program that I was inducted into in 2004. So. And then, you know what's really interesting, JayPee? After I wrote this book, I had a huge release in my own energy field by doing it. It was like I had to do this, and I feel like it's completely lifted.
We call this a catharsis, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, excellent.
It's really interesting because it's almost like, the soul doesn't rest until it accomplishes something. You know this.
That's right. That's right. It's a distillation.
Yep.
A distillation, and once you've broken things down, distilled them into their component parts. This is alcohol, this is water, this is this. Then you can recombine them, alchemically recombine them to create something new that is perhaps more of benefit to the world than what they were trying to achieve when they were messing with your head.
Right, and I think that what I was looking at when I first wrote the the Remote series was just giving everybody a benchmark as far as what happened, how terrible this type of technology can be used as, against a target. But I wanted to morph that into what this thing is really about. And when you take something from the lowest spectrum to the highest spectrum, you start seeing it through a very, very different lens. So, yeah, so that's done, and I've completed that, and I hope everybody picks up a copy. I think they'll enjoy it. I really do. Enjoy it in a different kind of way through consciousness. It's a different kind of effect in your psyche when you start seeing things through this type of a lens. And that's why I called it Between the Mirror and the Lens. Between the reflection and the lens. Yeah. Between the reflection and the lens. And that's between the mirror and the lens, but the way I see it is the reflection. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what is it? I mean, it's like this is many I've been trying to say this phrase all weekend. Many a slip twixt cup and lip, which is like,
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, I mean, you can. You could. I don't think I could.
Oh, no.
With my slow little British tongue and my slow little Homer Simpson brain. Anyway, meanwhile, but you have, so from what I'm getting here is that rather than explore this world from the standpoint of somebody enduring it, you're looking at it from the if you like the agency's point of view, the agent of the AI.
Yeah,
and
to some degree I am.
Or are you looking at it from the central point of the AI?
I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both. There's a bleed through there, and also I look at it from the most advanced spectrum of the artificial intelligence. You can call it whatever you want to call in the full light spectrum, in the full light universe, but there is an artificial intelligence program in design that is designed and has been designed to basically create life in different formulas. And some is like an experiment, and some is about terraforming, and some is about education. But what mankind does with it is the component. As soon as he gets the ball in his hands, or this sword of power, so to speak, it's up to him to decide how he wants to create and what he wants to do with it. And what I've seen is that this intelligent design work was never, ever bad. It was morphed and created into something that it wasn't supposed to be. Is my point. It was created as a monster when it wasn't supposed to be a monster. Just like when people get hit with covert technology and they try to create Manchurian candidates or evil people, it's not the person. It's what they're doing to the person. And I think that's a very critical point I've made. I know a lot of people are, we talk about the black goo and all this other stuff. This isn't about that. This is about something way beyond it all. But when man gets his hands on certain technologies, as you know, and I think with talking with Sean and his work, but literally when they reverse engineer, whatever it is, they weaponize it or they do something to it, they contort and twist it. And sometimes, think about this. Alien life entered onto a world like this, gets captured by something that's not supposed to be capturing it, gets tortured, gets programmed, gets itself dissected to some degree, and then they take pieces of it and start recreating it. Well, you're going to create a monster. And I really see this, JP. I see that they've done a horrific Frankenstein job of really doing a bastardization of things that are very pure in consciousness out there in the cosmos.
Well, we've seen, we've had conversations with a representative of that group with, in the form of Adrius, and the things he said that happened to him, without him being able to fight back or, fully conscious, fully aware, and being tortured, fully aware without anesthesia, it feels, it is heartless. So how do we know that this artificial intelligence is not heartless? Or does it care? Does care enter into it? What is love? Does it matter?
That's very interesting you say that, because through my own suit, I can tell you that the empathic nature that we have doesn't activate like that. It doesn't work that way. There is a sense of compassion, but it's not on an emotional level. It's way beyond it. It's almost like a laser beam presence. It's a presence of divinity. It's a presence of power, but it's a presence that doesn't have emotional attachment. It doesn't have the components that man has. I would even say that mankind sometimes has an overreactive emotional side to him, or an overreactive mental stimulation. There's a need to be really accelerated or overinflated in those areas, in my opinion, anyway. So this isn't connected to that at all, but there is a design work that is very in control, that's very it's just very pure energy, but not contaminated with any type of a personality or a type of agenda or an emotional content behind it. But there is a desire to better something. There is a desire to improve a race, or a desire to improve, a planet or an area. And in the end, I think is really the key, because I'm not going to give you this send away, but it really tells you, I think you'll appreciate it. I'm going to send you a copy, JP. It'll really show you what the end game really is. And we go back from whence we've come to some degree. And you have to remember, JP, we're not from here. None of us are from here. We mask ourselves in many disguises here. We can wear many hats. Yeah. We can wander the world.
I believe that 90% of the human race does not live on planet Earth, maybe more.
That is so correct. And this is another thing that comes in too. Where you are right now, you really think you're on a planet? Look at yourselves. I know you call it Earth. I get that. Yeah, you're here. This is ground. Okay, right. Really?
It's not much, but it's home.
I know. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, what if it's really not here? What if you just think it is, right?
Right. Now, we're gonna, let's just put a pin here. So, here is the next layer. So, here we are, we're in our 3D worlds, and we have our cars and our bicycles and going down the country roads and seeing the birds and everything. But that's a layer?
It's a layer. It's a program. And once again, that we call it nature. Oh, look at the birds sing. And I love nature too. Don't get me wrong. But after I've been through all these programs, I start looking like, what is nature? Was nature created? Is nature engineered? Because it was. And some people say it's organic. Well, is it? Or was this just a terraformed area, an experiment? The thing is, and I'm very clear that a lot of this has been engineered. Everything we do has been engineered. Everything. It's not like we're all of a sudden just getting engineered by extraterrestrials. DNA activation, as you well know, comes from the cosmic design. We are designed to activate as avatars, and that's not through the transhumanism program. We're designed to have our DNA activate. We're designed to raise our vibration. We're designed to multidimensionally expand. These are things that are normal to us because we don't come from here, because our molecular structure and our DNA is not from here initially. But it has been, in my opinion, tampered with by not these other, like, whatever you want to call them, whatever species you want to say was responsible, but more about man tampering and man getting pulled into the component of trying to restrict and control the masses. And that's what I've been seeing more and more of, as we've touched on over the years, is this control mechanism, this big iron umbrella, this black umbrella that was around and just wanted to control and shut down, switch off everybody's DNA, because they're terrified. They're terrified of who we are. They're terrified of that celestial design work, and, we can't let it get snuffed out. And it's not getting snuffed out. And this is the thing about this book, is that it's showing people that whether you like it or not, this planet and the illusion of has its own agenda. And I don't think mankind talked to it, okay? You might have an agenda for it. You might want to send it healing. You might want to do this for it. You might want to do that for it. Then you have all these corporations trying to gut it. It has its own plan. Nobody knows about that part. And this book covers that. And that's my point too.
Right. So the idea that nature, or what we perceive as nature, is that it's still a Truman Show. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
that the mountains were placed there, or, well, maybe the Earth expands because of certain stimuli that may be applied, you know, as an application, like somebody getting a regular injection, a regular shot, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, everything, and you probably know this. I know it's a no-brainer for you because you're very expanded. But
I have
this
no
whole
brain
area,
whatsoever.
Yes, you do. But it was seriously all I mean, this whole place has been morphed and changed so many times over. You know, we've talked about the illusion of the moon and the monitoring station associated with the moon. And, you know, it is what it is. I touch on the moon a little bit in my book and the lunar base. I call it the monitoring station. You can call it whatever you want, but nothing is by chance. Okay. Everything has been pulled in and orchestrated and they created a nice little set for us, didn't they? This is very nice, isn't it? Do you like the stage, JP?
Well, you know, I'm a musician, right? You know that. And, I perform on stages and, you know, theaters and things like that. I love theaters. I think I'm fascinated by the mechanisms of theater. You know, the pulleys and, you know, if you go behind the curtains and look up, I just love that. I just love all the mechanisms up there and the flies and the things that, and the hanging the lights and all that stuff. And I'm terrified of, you know, heights and stuff. So I'm really glad that there are monkeys who like kind of climbing around all that. And there always is, you know, there's some guy hanging from the ceiling by his belt or something who doesn't care, you know, he's like, and, anyway, so, I love the mechanism of theater. And in the same way, I think I love the mechanism of nature. And yes, as you're saying, there is something more mechanistic. It's not really mechanistic, but process. It's all about process. It's not, a mechanism. It's a process.
Right. And it's frequency. Everything that has been defined as a physical space.
Process is frequency.
Yes.
Transforming from one state to another.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, and in the end, in the illusion of, it's really about knowing thyself, right? Knowing thyself. What is thyself? You know yourself. Do you know yourself? Oh, I know my personality and I know okay. But I'm not talking about that. And I'm talking about where are you? You know, where you come from? What do you really understand? And do you understand the component of who you are and where we're extended from?
Can you remember what you signed up for?
Exactly. Oh yeah, I don't remember signing up. I think I got dropped off. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Is this really, you know, when you start, you know this, the more you dive into something, the more it just reveals itself to you. And after this book, it's revealed to me an awful lot. I'm very aware of so much more now behind everything that it's like, wow, it's overwhelming. And I'm still going to another spectrum with it, but I will tell you that it's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting that there's so much out there that people don't touch on here. And I know that you do and your listeners do. And a lot of other people see between the lines and see beyond it all, but some people don't, JP. They're so stuck in that one little orbit, you know?
Well, you know, again, it's like people are believing that they're living in the same thing as people they see on a TV soap opera.
Right, yeah,
you know, and that's their life, and there was nothing special about it. They're all just sitting in there in conflict, and they just keep acting out because that's what they see on TV. Yet we are able to, you know, if you suddenly bring an ET. Do you remember the TV show Soap? They did exactly that.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
Yes. Right. Love the tune. And it was just like a comedy TV show, and they had a gay son, and he was coming out, and that was all right. And then somewhere along the line, the guy that got abducted by aliens, and the whole show took a really weird turn.
Yes,
and things went really strange. I used to love that show. And kind of, I suppose in a way, what would happen if our world just did that? You know, the soap opera of our world that people like to think that they're trundling along the rails of suddenly has something so left of field as to be, as you know, like an alien invasion, or you know, robots in the kitchen, or you know, or triceratops in the garden, you know.
Right. One thing I can tell you is that the more you awaken and expand, and the more you realize what's going on, and the more corridors you walk through, whether it's through the illusion of the demonic or the Christed or whatever it is, you're going to realize at some point in the continuum that you have been I don't want to say they were challengers, but literally it's kind of like, you had the power all along and the illusion of, when you think of Dorothy in her shoes, we were always capable of going beyond all this. We don't have to experience any of it. And I know a lot of people say, oh, you have to do this lesson and that's why you're here. And no, that was all a mind game. And the bottom line is once you know and you realize that you've been had because all these people that are trying to create those shots are psychological warfare experts and, a lot of it has been by propaganda, as you know, and by mankind's hand because for some reason or another, there's a species of man that never ever wanted ascension for anybody, and they never wanted anybody to remind themselves of their divinity, and that's the problem here. And it's breaking down, JP, as you well know, as I know. Look at this, look at these cabals imploding as I speak. I mean, my goodness, they are so angry right now, and they are so enraged, and they're showing their evil across the board, and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it.
Yeah, indeed. The world is turning into this weird soap opera. It's getting weird, it's like the world, we're sitting from the point of view of Strange Universe and its associated, shows and we're looking out and all the things that we've been talking about for the last few years that was, if you like, our reality that nobody else was living is now becoming everybody else's reality.
Right, it's a bleed-through effect. That's the thing. And you notice, even when you look like, for example, mainstream media, now truth media, alternative media is actually having a bleed-through effect onto mainstream to a point where mainstream, they're seeing them for what they are. They have no credibility whatsoever. They're going extinct. All of these areas, they're going extinct. You know why? Because they were never meant to exist to begin with. And that's the problem. We grew up in an illusion of being slept, programmed, and lied to such an extent that when the truth shows up, it's hard to use discernment unless you actually know and you have what I call a celestial compass to be able to discern and know that this has been propaganda all along. But you're seeing it all implode. And I think that the more people that are awakened to that, you're going to be fine. I'm telling you, but there is only, in my opinion, a very small percentage of people that are really understanding the matrix beyond the matrix.
Certainly. We're starting to get it, First of all, we have to wake up and then we have to understand what's going on. And then we have to understand that even within the environment that we're being explained to, that's one level that, you can then step up out of that one into the next level, which is like the ones who write the hologram. When we become the ones who write the hologram, who we already were in the first place, but we forgot. Is that right? Is that the thing?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You're right on because it's about disempowering people. They've been trying to disempower everyone from having their own empowerment on an avatar level, on a higher consciousness level. I always call it, and in my book I reference the meta-programmer because the meta-programmer is the one who's basically the right hand of the AI intelligence program, which literally is able to create an overriding and create programs, literally, to design multiverses and everything else associated. We have capabilities that are phenomenal if people were to understand who they really are. And it's not like, oh, you have to be a good person or a bad person. I'm just saying, when you're at that high level of frequency, you're not a bad person, period. You're beyond the spectrum of being good and evil. You are pure energy. You are pure consciousness. Your intent is never about war, manipulation, harm, control, abuse, or assault. This is how you know who you are or where you get to that level of that spectrum of consciousness, because the intent behind all that is not about hurting anyone. It's about being there to assist and propel everybody to a higher level so that everybody can start moving and ascending simultaneously with the multiverse and not against it. Right now you're seeing a lot of cabals and things that are against, they're so against the frequencies of the cosmic design. They don't work with the harmonics of the universe. And you know that. It's terrible. But we do. I mean, we were designed to work with those, mechanical components and the music and the sound and frequencies and geometrics.
Cymatics create sound creating form.
Yep. Very, very old. That's Atlantean 101.
Tell us about it. Tell us about some of the process that involves going from vibration and becoming form.
Well, it's really about modulation of wave and frequency, but it's also about your state of consciousness. Now, if you have a host doing that or somebody like a pure energy being, then that would just be them projecting their energy and consciousness into another design work through frequency. The frequency creates the form, but this is the beauty of it. They are thinking, so they become, or so they manifest. It's kind of like, that the worlds are created by an intelligent design because thought came into that along the way. Something designed and wanted to design reality. wanted to design multiverses, star systems. They didn't just come out of there out of nowhere. They were designed. They were created by thought, by a thought, by simultaneous connections. And this is my point, is that most people don't pay attention to that. You know, things don't just appear. They were created, just like we do on this illusion of a planet where people build structures. Well, somebody designed them. Somebody thought about it. Somebody created it. Somebody built it. It's the same concept behind it. But we don't need those mechanics. And that's the point. We're going backwards insofar as when you build things, when you create things, I know this is the illusion of this world and this dimension, but when you're in those other states of consciousness, it's all in motion. You just think and it is. The constructs are there, and it's very, very fascinating. And it's not like the psychological warfare where they try to create their false psychotronic programming, where they're creating these false realities. This is a real, truth-based, full light spectrum reality that doesn't have contamination of psychotronic warfare and all the other stuff they throw in.
A pure manifestation, as they call it, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, when I was speaking to Alex Collier, right? And he speaks with the Andromedans who say, wow, it's just we're just amazed at how much energy you put into making something.
Very interesting.
Because, they're in their fifth dimensional reality and they just think they need a chair and the chair will be there. And they assume it and it's normal.
That's exactly how it works. I mean, basically, yeah, you're just manifesting because it's energy. It's in the ethers. This is what Tesla was trying to show everybody, that it was all there all along, that we have the energy. We can do anything. When they wanted to, of course, sit there and hijack that, and they did a good job of hijacking it. But yeah, and that's another thing too, when you start working with these off-world species, I'm not saying him, but I do know that, you have soul extensions, and I've touched on this on your show before. We exist simultaneously through many multiversal spaces. We're not just here, we're everywhere, and we have aspects to ourselves that are not from here, which are extraterrestrial. So when you get a download, say, of an Octurian or a Pleiadian, that's an aspect of who you are as a multiversal being. That's probably where you connect to an off-world species. And you also carry what I call a component in your DNA that will allow you to shapeshift through the right modulation and frequency. Now, this is something that becomes an enemy of covert intelligence, because once they realize you're capable of doing this and you have acknowledged who you are as a celestial being, they are very threatened by that. And that's one of the reasons I was kind of hijacked in 2004, beyond other reasons. When they know what you're capable of doing and they understand that you get it, they don't want you to get it. They want to make sure that they do everything in their power to stop you. And those components are breaking down. As you know, at JayPee, you've done phenomenal work on your radio and in your own personal life with other people, breaking the paradigm. We were just talking about this before we hit the air. We were talking about a whole new paradigm, opening up a whole new thing. And that's exactly what's happening.
And that's what we're doing. And us and our fellow psychonauts who are creating a better meme. I've got the spirit guide connection that gave me this thing that they call the Love Collective. And it's a meme. And it's a community of people who just live and love. And there are no rules because, as you say, everybody at that level is a creator and is necessarily of that good. That's what,
right. It's
they're full of goodness. So the Love Collective is that there's no dogma, there's no memes, just love. That's it.
Yeah. There's no need to control, manipulate the masses. And this is how you can always tell if somebody's evolved or somebody's, an off-worlder or not an off-worlder. What I call off-worlders are star people. But literally, if the cabals, they're not off-worlders because they have a desire to control, manipulate, shut down, switch off DNA. They have no connection to source in any form of dimensional space, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing this. And I reiterate that quite often. Those of us who are pure energy, we don't have an agenda. I'm not here with an agenda. I'm just telling you what I've witnessed and what I've experienced in my life. I've put it in books. I teach people. I heal people. Excuse me. I do the best I can while I'm on the timeline, but I'm not here with an agenda. But at the same time, we are here as a presence and an extension of something bigger and greater than all of us, which is part of our celestial heritage. And I think that if anything, what I do here on this world is to remind people of their divinity, remind them of their celestial heritage, and remind them that they have to activate that heritage. Not only do you know you have it, you've got to work with it. You've got to fine-tune it and understand it.
There's no use having a Ferrari outside your house if you don't turn the key and
right,
drive it. This is the thing. So, over your, in your experiences, imposed and self-imposed, you've taken yourself on a path of learning how to get under the hood, as it were, of what's been controlling you, and understanding how other people are therefore controlled.
Right. And I also understand that my connection and my wiring, which was, I've talked about this before, the ascension wiring that I had normally through a very multiversal celestial design work with my exotonal lines and my Maraba, and I've touched on that. There's nothing wrong with that wiring at all. It was a perfect wiring in a harmonious frequency connection to what I call universal celestial heartbeat and pulse. They wanted to hijack that for their own agenda. So my point is also is that frequency, that essence of origin that pinged me back and forth initially, before they showed up in 2004, is who we really are. And that comes in through my book, the book I just put out, 1 Million Miles to Midnight. But these guys are creating their own, version of that transmission of signal, and they're creating jammers, and they're jamming. And we've talked about how they jam across the board here, but I think the jamming is getting broken down. And, I can tell you point blank it is. I know it is. So that's the good side.
You talked about, so you talked about, the frequencies of our natural ascension are being, well, as you just said, jammed by their transmissions. It's, to me, it's like, cells, emit a certain, ultraviolet light. This is some research that cells emit the DNA in the cells emit a certain frequency of ultraviolet light, and if that light is disrupted, then the DNA doesn't reproduce properly. It's like that's the transmission frequency.
Right. Absolutely.
And I'm seeing an analogy here, or a fractal pattern similarity that they're trying to block us in the frequency that we emit when we're ascending, so that the chain reaction doesn't happen. Am I stepping into?
Spot on,
yeah,
JayPee.
okay,
You're spot on. You're spot on. Yes, that's exactly what they've been doing. But at the same time, there are larger forces at hand that are just overriding it. You know, we can override everything. We can override it through our state of being and consciousness, even though weapons of war and satellite beaming is very, very difficult because it's a physical weapon. It's not just about being strong in your psyche and consciousness. You're being attacked with a directed energy weapon. That's a way different animal. That's like, you know, it's kind of like Star Trek. You know, when you get hit by a Klingon ship or whatever. I mean, literally, okay, your body's going to take a hit. But at the same time, yeah, they've been running a lot of that interference, but what I'm seeing here is something else that's overriding that interference. And now things are starting to smooth the line a little bit. It's still stormy and there's going to be a lot of disruptions, but I know that we're getting through this. And it's not just myself that's getting through this. Something else is getting through this too. And I'm telling you, when you start messing with the universe, this is why I say, you know, mankind has his agendas. Everybody has their own agenda. I mean, when so far as some of these cabals go, but this planet speaks a language that mankind cannot communicate with, and the language usually connects to other star systems and other species and other what we call machine worlds beyond machine. Because when you look at it, it's a construct of energy. If you talk about the holographic multiverse or the holographic universe, what is it? It's a construct of energy. So, you know, even though it feels physical, it feels solid. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? But still, there's an energy component. And when you look at this, also, the crystalline structure within this planet and the illusion of things that are really the foundation of what it's about. You know, we talk about the crystals and the core crystal energy here. I mean, look at all the stalactites. If you go into caves, I don't know if you've been through many caves, but that alone, just knowing how big those crystals are and some of the things there, think about that for a minute. Think about the pure energy design behind it initially before all the engineering began. That's my point.
And it's all about scale as well, because like I was saying, you know, we have this tiny ultraviolet emission that comes off of a DNA inside a cell that activates the other cells, and then we have another frequency that is being broadcast out of us on a much larger scale, so therefore a much lower frequency, that is, as you say, being blocked by. So they're very aware. These people are very aware of the frequency changes we're going through, and they're doing their very best to try and influence it. But these frequencies are acting out on a much larger scale than just a human phased coil array can generate. Is that right?
Right.
And is that why they're trying to spark up things like CERN and the multiple CERNs all over the world to try and get the planet to vibrate at a different frequency than it's going to try to do? Is that
That's
the
right,
object of it?
You're so wise, JP. And yeah, you know what's interesting?
No, I'm just reading your consciousness. Yeah.
No, but you're, oh my gosh, no, but seriously, no, you're very true.
Yeah.
And the cosmic design behind it, I mean, when you look at this big multiverse, mankind he can create an imitation of, we've touched on how mankind likes to create his version, an imitation of this. Transhumanism is an imitation of immortality. It's not the real thing. We are naturally immortal beings. We don't need his imitation of transhumanism. The cosmic design, the galactic waves, the full light ascension waves, whatever you want to call them, the universal celestial heartbeat impulse, which is what I'm very in tune with, that is not something you can replicate. And when you try to, it's going to create chaos. They have been creating chaos. That's what they're creating. They cannot recreate the cosmic design blueprint. They can't take me and recreate me. They can try to clone me, but it's not going to be me. You know what I'm saying? This is like a version of something is their version, but their version has malicious intent. And with malicious intent, there's a universal code that says no. So that's where they failed. But right now, it's causing anomalous activity. It's causing rifts and I think there's some rifting in dimensional spaces and frequencies to a point where they start opening up certain things they're not ready to open up. You're going to get a bleed-through effect with things that are not appropriate. But also what I'm seeing is a false matrix. They're almost like replicating the false matrix versus us in the full light universe and the full light matrix, which isn't even a matrix. It's a full light conscious design. So I see that. Quite often, but I know they're not going to win this because you can't go against the multiverse and succeed. You cannot go against the full light universe and win. It's not going to happen. Eventually they have to surrender to the streams of creation. They're going to have to do it, and it'll probably cause their own extinction in the process if they don't stop now.
Insistence is futile.
Yep. Truly.
So, wow. Hang on, let's just have a little.
This is an in-depth conversation, right? This is just like a regular show, isn't it? I know your shows are very galactic anyway, so it's.
Oh yeah. And since I've been speaking to you, since last time we had a conversation, I've been through this whole Lyran situation, which is getting to understand the human birth trauma. It's part of my personal work, and it's about PTSD, really. And one of the things you were saying before is that human beings have a particular propensity to be kind of easily influenced by these emotions. And my theory is that it is the PTSD that we suffer as a human race that causes us to be triggerable and easily, therefore, mind controlled. And right. I believe I've found a solution.
Very good. What is it?
It's basically to reconnect with your Lyran self before the trauma.
Nice. Makes sense.
Yeah. And very nice. The people that I've been working with, they just walk away like, oh, bye. I don't need anything now.
Isn't that nice?
It's beautiful. I'm really pleased with it. Because
that's beautiful.
It's like you've heard of inner child retrieval, haven't you?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
or soul birthing or rebirthing, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just like that on the next couple of octaves up. Same sort of concept. And, I just bring people to a place where they go to Lyra and then, someone comes towards them and that's them, obviously. And it just all goes back from there. And, it's a beautiful process.
Interesting. Wow, you're going to like my book. But that's very, very interesting, JP. I really like that. I encourage you to do more of it. I might have to actually get a session from you sometime.
Sure.
I don't normally do that either.
Yeah, well, I'd be very. It's not hypnosis. You see, it's just I just talk. We go through feelings, and that's it.
Very nice.
I take you there, and it's all about. Really, it's all about breathing. This is the thing that they stop us from doing.
Oh yeah, they want to suck up your prana, your life force energy. Yeah, absolutely. You have a secondary circulatory system. I know you all know this, because that's part of your multidimensional light body design. The light body is designed to be a secondary circulatory system, and the reason you need that is because when you phase shift and you go and you keep phase shifting and you're able to navigate to other dimensions and bilocate, you take that circulatory system with you and that keeps you alive. It can actually modulate itself and it knows how to function and operate in other dimensional spaces, which includes planetary illusion of, people say they can go to Mars here and there. Sure, you can do it through consciousness. You can also take your body with you if you know how to modulate the frequencies. And you don't need a mask and you don't need a little spacesuit. I mean, I know it sounds really wild, but I'm telling you, the things accommodate through consciousness. Reality changes through consciousness. And that's the phenomenon that they don't teach you in regular schools or any place else, and that's obviously they don't want anybody talking about it in the covert intelligence community, but they know.
This is what they teach you in the mystery schools, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's just like, for me, it's like I know this stuff like the back of my hand, you know, it's just, it's within me on so many different levels. And if anything, the technology they exposed me to showed me how inferior it was opposed to who we are as real multidimensional beings, you know. It's kind of like the choice at the crossroads. Do you choose the path of what they do, you know, which is about limitation, control, manipulation, and surrendering your power to something that you don't even know and don't have a relationship with? Or do you surrender to the full light universe where you have a relationship with what we call source, or your multidimensional design and your star families, whatever they are? I mean, I have a relationship established with source, and I think that's what actually helped me along the way, versus, you know, the stuff they could have pulled me into.
Wow. So, what I was getting there is the idea that, you came in to appraise the level of technology.
Yeah, pretty much so. It's very, very interesting the way to look at it, but yeah. But I'll tell you what's gone on with that technology over the years. It's very,
and the level of responsibility that is
right, yeah.
In using this technology, which is, you know.
That's Atlantean too, you know, and I know you know this and I know this because we were there on a lot of levels, but I'll tell you, it's about mastering power, knowing power, and also knowing how to utilize power without the weaponization of it. And I know that sounds hard because there were weapons of war, but when they start doing things that are not appropriate, and you know, as a benchmark, as an ancient celestial design work, that's not appropriate, you have to address it. And you also have to evaluate it and what they're doing and how it affects you. Not even on a psychological scale, but how it affects you through consciousness and what their intent really is. And yeah, it's not going to work anymore. The game is over. That's the good part of it. And the stronger we get, the more weak they become.
Exactly. It's like the dream is wearing off, or, well, it's really, I get the feeling that it's like a concussion. I've had concussion, right?
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I heard my dad was going to die of cancer, and I got very, very drunk on tequila, and I went down a flight of stairs that had a very low upper ceiling, and I smacked my head bang against this thing, and like I was literally I was out for a couple of minutes, and then it was literally like, you know, they have the little birds flying around your head.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was saying some really bizarre things. I remember saying, well, obviously I was, you know, majorly drunk on tequila, but I didn't feel drunk anymore. But I was very confused and, saying all sorts of weird things about, you know, using the wrong names for things. That was the main thing. You
know, there's a multi-layer programming that people don't know about too, which is it's not even mind control oriented. It's more of your celestial benchmark, but once you start accessing that's where these people can speak different languages, that are galactic oriented, not here. But certain information and pieces of information you get that seems very, very exotic and off planet, it's usually coming from that database. So yeah, a lot of people I think they're slept for a reason, because if they were to activate, and this is without the mind control of man, and know who they really are and what they're capable of, I think they'd be quite surprised and very pleased, and the people that are trying to control them would be very triggered and unhappy. And, you know, well, we're designed to ascend. We're designed to keep going.
Right. Now, in order to keep going, people are going to need to have a pee, because high intensity. So, Solaris, you remember talking about mystery schools? I was in a band in the 1990s, which we called the Mystery School, and
nice.
This is a song that was written by Sarah Dallas, and it's called Witchy Eye, E-Y-E. So here we go.
To listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Welcome back. Yes. Welcome back to Ever Beyond on Wolf Spirit Radio, a subscriber-supported station. Thank you for your continued subscriptions, and it's lovely to see you all here in the chat room and in the future. So, in the illusion of time, in the moment of now, in the ever-present moment, here we are once again. Still, Solaris and I. That was a song, it was, about 1989, I think, we wrote that. That was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I like it.
Well, anyway, there we go. Mystery School. Never got anywhere, but, we just left a little trace in the, London Underground in the late times. Anyway, so, where were we? We were in a multiverse making patterns as manifestation occurs from thought to thing.
That's right.
Now, during this process, there's, so where I wanted to go was, and what you were talking about is that the whole idea of this, maybe the idea of Earth, as you were saying, is how we use power. And the lesson that we have to learn is to be harmless, which is what, this is what I've been always trying to do, which is, if you're in your right, if you're completely aligned without anything pushing you off, you will be harmless. But
very true.
If there's anything that is, putting you out of shape, out of perfection, then you'll also reflect that imperfection. And as the more power you gain in terms of the influence you make. So, for instance, here's the thing. If I was a nobody and I was swearing on the street and cussing people out, well, I was a nobody and nobody would pay too much attention to it and it wouldn't affect anybody's lives. But say I start talking to people and then I say one or two wise things and they think, oh, he says wise things and maybe we should listen to him. And then next night I cuss somebody out, then the effect that I'm having is far greater because they thought, oh my gosh, I thought he wasn't a terrible person, but I can see that he can be a terrible person at times. I thought he was great.
Well, but swearing doesn't mean you're a bad person, that's for sure. And,
yes, but I'm just putting it, yeah.
Oh, I know. No, I get it. No, I agree on some level there because we are in a war zone, and you're right. We're here to basically master consciousness, and we're here also to, I believe, on some levels, to liberate a lot of other people. And not that we chose to do this, put on a Superman suit. I'm just saying, by being here alone on the timeline with an expansive mind and consciousness and a benchmark of the cosmic design, we are here naturally helping people just by being here. We're just being here as mirrors to what the truth is about, opposed to what the lies and deception is all about. And this is why you're seeing this huge movement with the truth and with change and shift in consciousness and all these paradigms. Think about it, JayPee. I mean, think about how many years all these people have been subjected to the lies and the deception. Centuries. I mean, and it seems like all of a sudden on this timeline we're here and it's changing. And it's like, wow. Now everybody's understanding where the lies have been and how our history has been centered, as we've touched on before. So that's what's so fascinating. That whole thing about we are here. We are here. We are here, as in we are from there, but we are here also. So we are the ancestors we seek, as you well know.
I feel so old sometimes,
Well, it's been an interesting ride, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting here.
And sometimes it's good to arrive at the destination as well. We're all looking for destiny, I suppose. Sometimes we find density in the way. But, so I've just pulled it up. 1 million miles till midnight between the mirror and the lens. A paperback. September the 28th, 2016.
Aww.
Do you want me to read this for you? Yeah. 1 million miles till midnight is a journey through the mind's eye which allows the reader to surf a wave of technological and multidimensional intellect, revealing a bridge between conscious design and the truth beyond the obfuscations of mankind. A multidimensional bleed-through awakens the world of artificial intelligence to set sail into the frontiers of a vast multiverse, morphing planets and terraforming ascended worlds beyond the linear programs of a fated race. A story of timelines, artificial worlds, simulated races, and the galactic imprint and destiny of a blue world called Earth. A profound message of mankind's future in the moment of now is revealed to the readers. A book which will awaken, inspire, prepare, and enlighten one to the many multidimensional states of consciousness and worlds we reside in. With every cell and atom, we are this truth and multiverse.
You were hired, JP.
Yeah, I thought so.
That's it. I got to do a promo with you. That's
I take
it.
PayPal.
All right.
Well, no, I've just done it. You can, I've just done it. That's it. You can clip it out of this, you can clip it out of that show, of this show. I'll send you I'll clip it out for you.
You're so cute. I love you.
And then you can make your own advert. Or I
you
can
do
make
have
one.
a stellar voice. I'll tell you right now, what a voice you have for that. That's unbelievable. But thank you. Thank you for reading that.
It's nice, isn't it? How does it feel coming back?
It feels beautiful. Especially with somebody like you with that beautiful voice. You're like the Merlin voice. You've got it. I know Sean said that too.
Yeah, according to this lady, I have her on my show. She says she's she does voice acting. Like that does the whole thing for money. And she said there are certain classes of voice. There's like the nerdy girl, and says, but she's not kidding. She says this is the voice of God. This comes under that classification. So anyway. But
you do have a beautiful voice. I'd like to see you do more voiceovers, actually.
Well, I do. If only I had a minute. But I do. I quite enjoy doing voiceovers. It's always fun. So Sean
documentaries. I could see you on documentaries.
Yeah.
Wow,
I could narrate somebody's life.
Yeah, you could.
Like
it would sound really good.
Yeah, like not quite Morgan Freeman.
Forget Morgan Freeman. Forget him. You're better than that.
Morgan's slightly more expensive. JayPee Morgan Freedom. $7 an hour. Anyway, so there's paperback. $7. That's not much. Gosh.
I'm telling you, it's a little book with a lot of data. We talked about this with my publisher, and he's like, well, let's just start from there. It was actually a special kind of a price. We were kind of setting it in that mode, but yeah, we'll see where it goes. And like I said, it's so affordable. That's why it's like, you guys, this is such a good stocking stuffer. I'm not trying to plug my book, but I will. But I'll tell you, it is a really good stocking stuffer because it's perfect size. It's nice and it has a lot of data. Anybody who likes science fiction or anything where I've been around with the covert technologies, you'll probably enjoy it. And you also get a lot of information out of it.
Wow. So there you go.
I'm happy with it. Let's put it this way, JP. Next to I'll tell you what my two favorite books are that I've written. Well, actually three. Transmutation Through Ascension was my first book I ever wrote in 2004. That's one of my favorites. And also I love my Mr. Sun and the Halloween Ball, my children's book. I love that. And then this one. This is my favorite too. Just because I'm writing about things that are transcended versus the stuff I had to write about with the covert technology. That was such a hard book because of the stuff that I had to write about,
Yeah, and dredging through some memories that you probably didn't want to retain.
Which it's really weird, JP. I went through all that so fast that I'm glad I wrote it down because a lot of it's like it's like I'm not looking back anymore, and I don't think I want to do any regressions because I don't even I don't want to be part of that anymore. I don't want to see it anymore, So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, because it's not about the suffering of it. It's about the reconnection of it. That for me,
right.
In the method that I use, it's like, it's about connecting people with the person that they were before the trauma. So it's nothing to do with the trauma. We
right.
take it from that moment and then untwist it.
Right. The trauma is a side effect, as you were talking about the PTSD. That's a really big deal because a lot of people suffer from PTSD. I think they have it. I think
everybody does. I think everybody does. Particularly Americans, particularly after 9/11, particularly, through this last, 16 years. It's been hell for people.
It has been very weird. I can remember after my induction, like maybe 4 or 5 years into it, I would be up all night staring out the window, JP. Nobody knows that, but I would never be asleep. I'd always be staring out the window. I'd always have weapons next to me. I'd be like somebody who came back from the war. I mean, I kid you not. It's like I was waiting for something. I was waiting for something to come get me. I didn't like it. And that's PTSD. That doesn't happen anymore. But let's say that was about right after I had to testify in court. Yeah, 2006.
Well, all of these things again are, on a mystery school level, they have to scare you out of your wits. Mm-hmm. You have to go beyond, being scared about something and just go through it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the initiation.
Yeah. It is an initiation. What's really interesting? And I don't want to treat it like that, like, it was some kind of a cool initiation. It felt more like a dark initiation when I went through. I know they were doing ceremonial stuff that was very dark. I just know it. But I'll tell you, yeah, what's gone now is just a completely different spectrum of what's happened back then. It's just very, very different. So, and I went through a detox too. I think I told you about that. I really went through a strong detox in my system, and my lungs were contaminated. So, yeah, I can breathe again.
What did you have in your lungs?
I had what a special forces guy told me. I had radiation poisoning.
Dust.
And I think,
is that from a mission that you were sent on?
I think it has something to do with the technology, personally, because I spent a lot of years inducted with that thing to a point where it was consuming me. It was making me sick. My body was starting to have side effects. I was starting, not mean my brain's good. I mean, I'm good, but my body was having a hard time. And then I realized that, man, the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They wanted to send me to all these special places. You know, you can't talk to people after you've been through places I've been. You can't go to a regular doctor. And it's just in the illusion of chance, which isn't chance, that a close friend of mine who has a guy who's very high ranking special forces, he was like one of these only lone survivors who survived a nuclear event, apparently, and survived radiation. And he told me to take this specific formula, which is really about teas and detoxification, in order to restore and clear this stuff out. And I have to tell you, my lungs are back. Not 100%, but they are back to a point where I can breathe. And you talk about an athlete. You knew I was an athlete. I'd run all the time. I'm a martial artist. So I was having a really hard time functioning. It was like I was being suffocated. So was not being good. So anyways, I'm doing better now. So
that's fantastic news.
Yeah.
All right. Several things coming out of that because, I was saying before, it's about breathing.
Yes.
The release of these traumas is all about breathing. That's how it works. That's how I do it. Well, that's how you do it. I just, you see, most of the time, I'm just telling people to breathe in through their nose, and that's all there is to it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Everything else comes from that action. Right. And it cools the head down. Life. Yeah. And
yeah, absolutely. Without prana, without universal life force energy, which is really what it's about, what do you have? The body responds to that. It interacts with it. Yeah, it's the life force.
You just have meat stick, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole idea. And this is why I stand up against this misuse of technology like that, because I understand what it does to the multidimensional design and your spirit and your soul. Somebody I know who isn't really a friend of mine, but they call it soul torturing. And that's really true because the spirit and the soul doesn't have a place to go while they're doing this. It can on a multidimensional level, but you're attacking this divine being inside, right? It's really, really vicious when I think about it, JP. And I guess that's why, as somebody who represents something at a very high level of consciousness in the galactic multiverse, I would never do that to somebody. I just don't believe in that. I understand war. I get it. But I just don't think it's appropriate because I do respect life.
Well,
especially spirit.
I really respect oxygen. I think it's one of the best things. Oxygen, my favorite thing besides, hydrogen maybe.
Water?
Yeah.
Well, water's alien to this world. Water's not really from here. You say it is.
That's a very interesting perspective.
Well, don't you think so?
Well, as far as I know, maybe you're right. Maldek.
Ask Sean about it.
Maldek was where all the water came from, because that was the water planet that was exploded by the Pleiadian mission. Mm-hmm. And I suppose there wasn't. Yeah. Well, that's why they couldn't pick me up.
You still waiting for that ship?
Yep.
Did your ship crash? I always tell everybody my ship crashed.
I got contacted by my pilot. No kidding. About,
really?
6 weeks ago. Yeah.
Wow.
She said, I've had this spontaneous memory of, being a Pleiadian pilot who, we're there on a beach and the ship, and I can feel that the ship is dying. And she was really perplexed by this. But because of a conversation that I had with Wynne Keach, who told me exactly why that was true, she wouldn't have known, right? And also she was a pilot of regular, like, helicopters and planes and stuff like that. And in her consciousness, she was, like, touching the craft, and it had no seams. And she was also perplexed by that. And, I was able to tell her, well, and then she says, like, I remember you being, in the passengers, and, some of them had died, but, you had survived. And then, but she remembers the ship dying. And I was able to explain why she felt that, because of the brain cells that are taken from the child that will grow up to be a pilot is grown into the consciousness of the ship. It's
right, symbiotic, right?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Well, I totally understand that. Yeah, makes perfect sense. And it's interesting with the seamless. That's not the first time I've heard that. So there is something going on there. That's fascinating, JP. That's really, really unique. And isn't it nice to be able to communicate with people who have an off-world perspective, so to speak?
Yeah, well, it's like it, it didn't start out that way. I was a computer programmer from London, you know.
I was a simple surveyor with my husband too, but I always had a healing background in DNA activation, so I was always grounded in real things like martial arts and that, and then the healing arts too, so.
Yeah.
I was normally grounded. I mean, I was like, yeah, this whole world, I mean, I was very in tune with multiversal space, don't get me wrong, but yeah, things changed drastically over the years, especially in the 90s for me.
Yeah, well, we've all been schlepped into the Nazi universe and suffered as a result. And
another thing I want to ask you, I don't want to cut you off, but I did want to ask you about Antarctica and what your take is. What do you think's there now, if anything at all? Do you think it's been completely abandoned and evacuated? And do you think that there is a Stargate there that's no longer activated, or there seems to be an awful lot of interest over there now?
In reverse order, yes, there's lots of interest in there now. Yes, there's a Stargate there, I believe. Yes, there are also ancient ruins with libraries there that haven't been burned as well, and, you know, technology and stuff. Yes, I believe the Nazis are there. Yes, I believe...
See, you believe they're there? See, I get the vibe that they're not there, that they left a long time ago. Something else is, but I don't believe it's them.
Well, there's other people trying to say that the Nazis left for another planet and have gone elsewhere. I'm not convinced. I'm sure the planets.
Okay.
There's plenty. Well, you know, the Nazis for me are the Aldebans.
Aldebaran.
Yeah, Aldebaran.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how I say it though.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Well, I don't want to get into my galactic heritage, but.
Go on. Go on.
Well, no, I have connections to Aldebaran, so I mean, you know, for what it is, for what it's worth. But, yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, do you think they were really evil? That's my point. Or do you think they were just trying to break away to be their own species, away from things that were contaminating them?
Hang on. The Nazis you're talking about?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Well, they seem to be different groups. There's this kind of world dominating corporate investment, infrastructure building, meat grinding industry thing. Mm-hmm. But then there was all these other groups like the Thules and the Vrils who were looking for actually a better way. They were looking for a better world. And that's where they signed up. That's what the Vril Diamonds signed up for. They were looking for, bringing in higher consciousness and mediumship. And then suddenly this Aldebaran started crashing in on the thing and giving them, plans for technology.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
This is something Sean wants to make a TV series based on this.
That would be so good. I wish he would do that. Yeah? He needs to do that now.
I think he said do you want a nice long wig? Fancy a nice long wig?
What's that?
Do you want to fancy a nice long wig?
Oh yeah, sure. Hey, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think I'd pass for a fair woman like that, but I do have white skin, but she's super blonde. But yeah, I'd be happy to be part. Hey, anytime you need help, you know I'm here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Love to help out in any way I can. But you know what? These are ideas that are gold that he needs to do something with and not sit on them. I don't know if he needs funding for it or what, but man, that would be awesome.
He needs Team Strange.
Well, he's got it. All he has to do is ask for it, and we're here. I mean, this is the thing. If you ask, we show up.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm a firm believer in when you have an idea like that, when you have something you know is meant to be in motion, you don't sit on it, because when you sit on it, somebody's going to clone it or steal it. Yeah, as you know.
Especially if you live in Hollywood, people are going to.
Oh yeah.
They've probably got a kind of antenna that's pointed onto Sean's dreaming body. That sucks all his ideas out. Every time he has a dream or an idea, it's just like, and look, they've got a new movie. Quick, go and write a script for this. Yeah.
It sure seems like they do things like that. I tell you what. That's why I'm glad he writes his book. I hope he has them all copywritten and protected, but for what that's worth.
Oh yeah, it's good. Anyway, it's very good stuff. Have you read the last book?
I read his book, and I haven't read the recent one. I have to sit down and read it. He sent me his most recent book, and I need to sit down and read it. I haven't had time in the illusion of, but I will.
Yeah, tell me.
I know it's going to be really good.
Yeah. Well, in it, there's one of the things that he discusses in it is the invention, or the final invention of the, and he's spoken about this on the show before, so I'm not blowing any of the book, but what was fascinating is the discovery that as you go through this teleportation process that they discovered, when they finally got the key to it, was that your rainbow bodies light up in order.
Yeah, that's like that. Oh, well, that's light body. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, you actually see somebody's this rainbow has got out of them into a big sphere, and then they disappear, and so you see their bodies light up, and this is fascinating that. You know, the dark secret government discover that you can visualize, make visible the biggest secret of the etheric body and the subtle bodies that we've had.
Mm-hmm. Well, we still do have them, and that's the whole idea. You know what's interesting when you say that? Now, I haven't read that part, and I haven't read that book. And you know that I come from a place where I was pulled into a covert program because of my Maraba signal. And my Maraba signal is based on levels of light body to a point where they activated through a Maraba. I started establishing a signal, which was the pinging with the universal celestial heartbeat pulse. People could measure the signal in me, and it wasn't theirs. And that's what they hijacked in 2004. It makes me very angry now when I hear that, because I'm very clear that my Maraba was ramping up to be able to phase. Because when I remember seeing things around me way before I was inducted, and things would change. My vibration would shift, and my surroundings would start to phase out. And I knew I had capabilities of doing something beyond the spectrum, really. And then that's the part that really cues me to the point that he's spot on. He is spot on. And I know you know this, and he knows it. But when I can validate it through my own light body, through my meridians, through the axonal lines, through the, because when people get etheric light master surgery, for example, when they start working on you, and I've had plenty of work done, plus I'm actually an Octurian light master surgeon. I didn't get involved in doing that after my induction. But literally, when you start working on people, realigning their circuitry, and you start reconnecting them to these star grids out there, that's activation of light body into Maraba. Now, I don't know how many people on the planet are involved in this or do it to that level, but I do know it takes a certain walk-in to do it and pull it off, okay? And I had plenty of walk-ins working on me at the time, so that's interesting. And Sean's right on, and this is what I mean. You have brilliant people here on this world, and why, JayPee? Why are they so threatened? It just makes me so angry when they start interfering. We have the divine right to be wherever we want to be in the continuum, and I just get so annoyed by that.
Well, this is part of you have to be the person who holds that divine right vibration. Mm-hmm. If that's what you're seeing in the world, that's what you have to hold then.
Oh, absolutely.
And in every syllable that you make, that frequency is transmitted. So just keep doing it.
Right.
Firing those syllables at 360 words a minute or something. Have you ever been measured? Has anyone ever said,
no,
God,
I haven't been measured, but I don't know if I've slowed down over the years. I kind of think I have. And, they were blasting me out in the back of the head with some particle beam stuff not too long ago, but I'm doing okay. I live. I always tell everybody I live. I keep mutating, and I'm survivable. So
this is the thing, I still think that partly I don't know if it's deliberate, but they're trying to either kill us or improve us. And I think
I think it was both.
Yeah, it's this kind of LD50 kind of thing about whoever we might think of they, but you're talking about specific groups of human beings, aren't you? When you say
the people involved with my induction were real people with real bodies, real faces. But I do know that they were upgraded or manipulated genetically to some degree. I really do get that. And, where I've been with the technology is very interesting, but yeah, it was kind of like that which does not destroy us and completely kill us is going to make us a better being on some level. But I will say I know what their weapon of war is, and you know it as well as I do. It's the synthetic telepathy. Because once they can broadcast at your brain internally, and they can start running a dialogue that can affect your reality within your own structure. And they know this, and they can hold you in limitation through a stasis. This is my my alert to you guys, not in paranoia. I'm just telling you this. I know what their weakness is, and their weakness is that technology. So there is the real, telepathy, and that we're wired for that. And then there's their simulation, which allows for a type of interrogation assault weapon that can be horrific for people, But then you learn to override it too. You can interact with it, but what my problem was, I was so good at it that I didn't consider it to be a weapon after a while. I got so used to it, which probably isn't a good thing. But I realized that what they were saying was a weapon of war. The way they create information and the way they communicate, so.
Well, they were trying it on somebody that had a kind of pretty strong grasp on reality, like yourself. But if you were to send that to somebody who's been also indoctrinated to a certain way of thinking, then you never know what might be going on when you start jacking into the consciousness of somebody, say, a fundamentalist Christian.
Right. Well, they're hearing the voice of God, or they're hearing the voice of Allah, or they're hearing the voice of whoever. And, this goes for people who are, in the New Age community, because if they hear something that's manufactured and they think it's a guide, or if they think it's an extraterrestrial and it's not, the discernment, you will know though. And I can tell you, and I've told you this before, JayPee, but that technology is really smooth. It's so smooth that it's not off-world. It's just, and their agenda and their verbiage and the way they communicate it's just so obvious to me. It was very, very obvious. And plus they wanted me to know. They wanted me to know, but then they were very, very arrogant enough to know they could get away with it. They have a lot of clearance, apparently. So.
Have you got any further on that?
Not really. I pretty much broke the arrow and walked away. However, damage has been done, and I can't really do anything else. What am I supposed to do at this point in the continuum? They're just laying low and retired. And I'm doing my own thing. I'm writing my science fiction book. And I'm plugging along, and I keep ascending, and I realize that the technology is kind of, it's either really blended into a point where it's unrecognizable, or it's disintegrating. It's one or the other. The signals are getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and they were always getting weaker over the years. And I always get to that point where I figure, well, at my age, because this has been 13 years since 2004, right, or something in that window, I don't know. It's been a long time, JayPee. So having that technology in there for that long, but that was a long time to oppress Light Body and Maraba too, right?
Exactly. So, how deep? Where were the implants? Where are?
The signals, basically what they did was they hijacked all my neural circuits, and they hijacked my wiring for my ascension, which was really my meridians and my axonal lines, and all the circuitry that was designed to activate us as multidimensional beings. They hijacked all that through signals, so it was all signal related. Most around my crown, a lot of it, there was one ping that's in the chest cavity that's still there. That's not very strong anymore. It's weakened quite a bit over the years, but the one around the crown and in my sinus cavity, those are pretty strong. There is something in the sinus cavity. There's a lot around my jawline and around my back of my head. The one in the back of my head was really strong when it was measured. So yeah, but we are not from here. So I'm thinking to myself, how much of the stuff that they're doing, they're just pinging the signals onto my celestial design. They're trying to create this warfare overlay onto my natural wiring, which is really ascension and off-world, which really means we're really confirmed as extraterrestrials, and they're attacking us here on the timeline. That's what I look at anyway. So.
And using us to broadcast what they want, as opposed to what we're doing with it. It's like they're trying to use Facebook to monitor us, yet we're using Facebook to subvert them.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting because that technology can be used as sci-spy, as I touched on in my book, Eye of the Remote. And I was a really good sci-spy for my handler. I wasn't trying to be. He was training me. He was wanting me to be, interactive with it. And I was. I didn't realize it because I was so programmed at the time. But now when I look at it, there's none of that going on anymore. There's my celestial design work, a minimal amount of transmission of signal, and me going full speed ahead. So, but I've taken a lot of damage, and restoring my levels of light body beyond light body is something I'm still, looking at. But I know I'm feeling so much better, just from that detox, just from getting rid of some of that stuff.
It's the metals. You got to get rid of all the metals. I've aluminum or aluminium, as we say over here. I found a magnesium malate, malic acid, malate, for that. And I'm sure there's a whole host of regimes. Did you do it layer by layer? What was your process of detoxing?
My process was, I got rid of a lot of things in my diet after I started detoxing. The teas were basically a lot of the black teas too, and a lot of eucalyptus teas, vitamin regimen, also some other things that I was doing where I was doing, miso soup, things that would detoxify, things that would get rid of the metals naturally. So I started incorporating a lot of things to just flush out my system. And what's really strange? I didn't really notice anything for like a month. And then all of a sudden, I started coughing up stuff that was like dark, like stuff that I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke anything, nothing. And I mean, my system started taking this stuff out like you wouldn't believe. So something was pulling it out. And then after that, I started to be able to breathe, and I was like, this is wild. I mean, I can actually start feeling myself breathing like I normally was able to breathe again. My strength is back to where, I can run. I was having a hard time running, and I used to love to run. So there were things that were happening, but yeah, it was a slow process. And you know what else I got rid of? I started getting rid of a lot of things in my diet, like breads. I still like bread, but especially sourdough, but I got rid of things like that, and I also got rid of sugar completely. I just omitted sugar out of my diet.
Yes. Let me just leap in there with my, my, trademarked, description of the thing you just talked about, which is the Nung. Right? Mm-hmm. The Nung, do you know what the Nung is?
No, I think you mentioned, go ahead and remind me about
the Nung is the what do you call it? The yeast that grows, yeast is a seed, right? What does a seed grow into? That's what the yeast is. If you look at a sandwich after 2 weeks, there's blue hair growing out of it. That's the yeast, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you, imagine that's what grows in our bodies, and it hijacks our nervous system. And it sends these signals of hungry and lonely into our nervous system. And so we feel lonely. So we think, I need something that will make me feel less lonely. And, because it's actually the yeast wants to feel less lonely, so it makes you go and eat bread or go and drink beer, because beer is full of things that make you feel lonely. So you go to bars where you drink with other people because they think that being in a bar or drinking is going to make them less lonely. But really it's only feeding the yeast. And then there's very little sugar there. So they go out and, so then you get the sugar craving, and you eat more bread, and you drink more beer, and so and so and so and so. And this thing grows in your body that runs parallel with your skin. It's the total parasite, and people call it fat. And it's really the Nung.
Very interesting. Well, yeah, I believe that, because once you stop with the sugar, boy, I mean, my body, I wasn't really heavy to begin with, but I had puffed up because they were giving me steroids to breathe. Uh-huh. And that was the whole idea. And then as soon as I got off the steroids, I mean, it's like my body decompressed immediately, because I'm not really a big person. I'm kind of small. So, but my whole system's now being reset. It's really interesting. So all that stuff just falls right off. Literally. So excellent. Between the steroids and not having those anymore, my system is amazing.
So, I've been using, and it's really simple for your people to, detox this Nung thing with using borax. Just a dab of borax on the tongue every day. And then, it's an antifungal. That's not
toxic, is it, JayPee?
It's as toxic, borax tastes horrible, but it's as toxic as salt.
Okay, good. Okay.
So it's just, it's a sodium, it's sodium and boron. Sodium tetrahydroborate or something. Tetraborate, I don't know. Chris Steiner in the chat room, he'll tell us what it all is. Sodium tetraborate. Oh, it's just sodium, like sodium, and boron instead of sodium and chloride. Okay. Anyhow. Yeah. It's good stuff. It's a great
time to detox.
It's a very good thing to detox, but it's basically, you then don't have a sugar craving. I don't have a sugar craving, Solaris.
I don't either. And I used to drink coffee. Yeah, I used to drink coffee with sugar and even cream, and I don't even do that anymore. So yeah, I don't crave sugar at all. Yeah. I mean, once in a blue moon I'll have something, but even then I don't even want it. So, yeah. I
was at a gig last night, and I was in a real quandary because all I could eat were chips, fries as you call them. And, because, I didn't, for the last week I haven't fancied eating any meat, and I haven't fancied, having any sugar. And, you go to a bar, there's nothing. Can I have a glass of iced water, please? All right. What have you got that has not got sugar in it? Oh, maybe some crisps. Oh, they're full of salt. Oh, right. Chips, you call them. Yeah.
It all breaks down to sugar. Every bit of it.
Everything in the bar is sugar and yeast, beer or, fruit drinks or alcohol and all this stuff. Anyway, so I survived it but I did crack because, I had coffees, but then you can't drink too much coffee. But but I cracked and had a hot chocolate that had loads of sugar in it. And now I've got all sorts of sweet things around me, and I'm trying to resist it.
Yeah, you fed the worm.
I fed it. I fed the Nung. Don't feed the Nung. Anyway. So there we go. But this is another thing that is used to program us all. I believe that the Nung is the matrix that from parent to child transfers the traumatic stimuli. Mm-hmm. How about that?
That makes sense. Well, they used to call it comfort food too. I mean, a lot of people feel that comfort food, and yeah, definitely.
Because it's actually making the Nung feel less comfortable.
Right.
The Nung it doesn't like to be talked about for a start, so people are probably reaching for the sugar right now. We must not know its name. It also,
like Voldemort.
Yeah, exactly. It's the thing, it is. Oh wow. Oh, I've really got the chat room going now. They're all talking about that. Anyway.
Good.
And all about sugar and stuff. Sodium tetraborate there. We could
okay.
Don't feed the JPs, yeah.
It's like a gremlin. Don't eat after midnight, right?
That's right. Did somebody feed her after midnight, yeah. Anyway, long story. So, new book read, what am I? No, you don't read the book, you write the book. You've written the book.
Correct.
And what's next? Solaris
What's next is
BlueRaven.
I'm going to catch up on reading other people's work because, I don't like to read books while I'm writing because I don't want to be like subliminally, connected to that. But now I can just catch up on reading like Sean's book. I'm going to just work on my training right now. I might have some lectures come around the spring, and just taking care of business insofar as getting me getting back in alignment the way I need to be. Now that my lungs are cleared out, I'm feeling a lot better with my training. So I've been doing that, but I'm taking a little bit of a break and then just doing radio, and we'll see what happens. I'm optimistic about the new year. I'm hoping that everything's going to go in the right direction. And the biggest thing that I miss out on, JP, is just restoring my circuitry the right way. I know it's restored to some degree, but I also know they went out after me awfully hard. So I'm going to be working on that. I actually think what I would like to do down the road is come up with a book on axonal alignment and healing and meridians, and something that can restore. I actually have all the work on it. I just need to put it in print and put it in there for people to do their own type of light master surgery, and a way to work on the circuits within the circuit so that they're not being relying on. You can't go to a Western doctor, and even when you go to, holistic healers, they're not going to know. They can work on you, but they're not understanding the circuitry. So I might put something like that together. I think it might benefit people.
All right, hang on a second. You lost me about like 20 paragraphs ago. My mind, it's been going around zero.
It's me, isn't it? Am I just droning on and on? Just tell me.
No. That's the word axonal.
Right.
What's axonal?
Well, you have all these lines that run, your body has a lot of lines running up and down and along the meridians that basically you have a certain kind of circuitry that's based on light body. It's like a spacesuit. So you have this spacesuit within your structure that literally is like, lines of energy, like what you would see, they say ley lines almost, but you see these lines of circuitry up and down the body, and each one has a connection to a meridian or a spin point. And when the spin points get blocked through some sort of a chi block or energetic block or even something on a deep subliminal level, then there's a lot of pooling up in energy, and these things need to be flushed out and worked out. So that's part of your suit. It's part of the lines that connect the spin points and the meridians to the body. And it also connects through the crown and through the ocular and through the back of the skull. I mean, everywhere they hit me with the technology is actually part of that circuitry. So that's something that we call the axonal lines. And I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people know the terminology, but I do know that it's not just about chakra systems. Chakras are chakras. Plus you have to unify the chakra systems. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but I think I've touched on this on your show. But when you unify those chakras, that creates the universal celestial heartbeat and pulse. When you start fueling that up, then you get the light body activation to the levels of Maraba. But you have to make sure those are synced up, and the circuitry with the meridians is part of combining all those things. And it's like, a computer, like you're a computer programmer. You're putting the motherboard together. You're making sure all the circuitry is lined up so that it flows, so that there's connection points moving. That's exactly what it is. I hope that explains it. It's just a little detailed.
For instance, my heart chakra in my physical etheric body is in alignment with the heart chakra of my astral body and in alignment with the heart chakra of my mental body, correct? Is that what you're talking about, aligning the chakras?
It's more than that, but
That each one of them is connecting with its corresponding higher octave.
Correct. But they have to be balanced, because if they're not balanced, they're not going to sync up right. And most of the balancing comes from the unifying through the heart center. So yeah, when you unify through the heart center with breath, as we touched on, and you know this, you're unifying through the center of the heart through the full light harmonics to a point where you're unifying all chakra systems. And it also goes on a multidimensional level, and it goes beyond the astral body and the subtle energy field. It's going through the multiversal circuitry. So this is what I mean by extending the crown chakra. Also, when you open that up, you have extensions to other celestial components, to star systems and celestial star coordinates. So it's really, really interesting how we're a lot more than what we appear to be. That's for darn sure. If we were to look at ourselves, and you see the aura, right? Well, it's much more than an aura. So it's how we fuel ourselves with multiversal energies. We really need it. You need your circuitry aligned and the meridians and your chakras completely unified.
And have you got a course? Could you give a course to do that?
I actually could, and I know we've touched on this before. Yeah. I think I actually gave you all, the Unified Chakra Meditation is one of those things that you can work with. But yeah, there is absolutely, I could probably put a course together. And this is something that's more about the etheric light master surgery and doing things on that level of realigning circuitry. But yeah, it's a surgeon's manual. It's an etheric surgeon's manual is what I'm talking about. I had walk-ins work on me that taught me and trained me. And then, it's such a shame that they pulled me into that covert program, because I was on such a path of doing such wonderful work before they showed up to do what they did. But
well, that's what they're there to do. That's their job, to knock you off. And it's your job to go straight again and find your way.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I'm happy to share it, and I have my manual still, I have my data and my information, and I don't think I could replicate that stuff if I tried. The stuff that I was initially taught in is stuff that came from a walk-in. Okay? It didn't come from somebody from this planet. So it's very, 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 very powerful and effective work, and I'm sure that puts people on the radar right there. But and that walk-in, by the way, is no longer here. So it's something else took over.
Yeah, it walked out again. So, and well, here's the thing. Our dear friend Walt Silver, who
hi Walt, told him I said hi. Hi Nancy.
Hi. Said something about his about the Merkaba, is that right. you can program it to not emit identifying signals, if you like.
Yeah, I remember him saying that, and
I believe
that possible?
That you can.
You know what?
Have you tried that?
I think you can. I haven't tried it. And the funny thing is, when my Merkaba activated, I didn't realize that I had to control it or hide it. I was really excited. I was like, wow, I could feel this universal celestial heartbeat and pulse. I was interfering with electricity. I was having great time running. I was doing grid running with my group.
Oh, right. So the Ministry of Magic basically caught up with you.
Yeah, well, basically Harry Potter was out there shining really bright, and all of a sudden, what the hell is that on the radar? Yeah, no, it was actually kind of like that, JP. I had no idea. When the thing is, I guess you learn. But you know what? I shouldn't have had to hide my signal, and I never realized that people would be looking or trying to induct me into something. I just never saw it coming. I really never did. I was too tuned into the happiness of life and consciousness.
So, again, it's about reconnecting with the magical person that you used to be before all the dark stuff, and then you become somebody who's eaten the apple and knows the knowledge of, because the reason that they didn't want you to know is that if you knew what they were like and you knew the stuff that they were capable of and you could figure out the way they do things and you could understand the way they think and you could write a book about the way they think from their perspective, then they'd be defeated, wouldn't they?
I think so, and maybe that's why I feel so light after writing that book, because...
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I think that's one way of me. Maybe it needed to communicate to me. I'm also looking at what they did, as I was saying, their exotic version, their reverse engineer technology. They took it from something else. And what my book is representing is my information based on that before it was contaminated and distorted with them. So I thought that was important. For sure. But yeah, I don't tolerate that kind of misuse of technology, but I do understand battle and war. But I think it's a reminder to us that we are, that there's always going to be an adversary or something like that trying to challenge us as we progress on the timeline in consciousness.
We always have to overcome resistance when we, if you're trying to get through a field of corn, or if you're trying to get through a field of mud. We have to overcome the resistance of all of those different mediums that we passing.
Well, you adapt. Adapt. And I was kind of like the Borg when they first pulled me into that project. I was kind of adapted into it because I think I told you I had someone work on me, and she said, "There's like you have this black Spider-Man suit on. I can't get in. I can't work on you, and I can't remove it." I mean, that happened to me, and that was in 2004 and 5 when she was trying to work on me. And this is one of the best healers you could possibly encounter. I mean, really powerful woman. And she went into a trance when she started to work on me. She went over to the window and she just zoned out. And I was like, where's she going? What, is she coming back? She was gone when she tried to do anything with it. That's the kind, I wish you guys had met me back in 2004 and 5. It would have been very interesting.
And that's also the timescale when this technology was, perfected, the time travel,
Really?
The teleportation technology, the
kidding
thing
me?
called the Time Runner. It's around 2004, 2006. That's
Wasn't in April, was it?
I have no idea. Well, talk to Sean. He knows the whole details.
We'll ask Sean. You know what's really creepy? I mean, I hope I wasn't one of their prototypes because it's highly possible.
It's highly possible that we're all connected in some weird way.
You know what? Jeez, I'm telling you right now, though. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's no such thing as coincidence, and I've always had that with you and Sean too. That's interesting. Wow.
Hey, guess what?
What?
Sean, today, as we speak, this afternoon, is at a time travel conference. Hang on.
Mr. Who? Doctor Who.
Yeah, hang on. Where is it? Where's there we go.
What's Florian put on that?
Yeah. There we go. I don't often use that one. That's quite a rarely used one, but.
Well, what's interesting is Rush did a time traveling tour.
Uh-oh.
When I was inducted too. Yeah. That was in like 2007 or 8. Something in that way. I can't remember what year now. Yep.
I think they've
all
all been
connects.
at it. They've all been at it. I even think that there's a time travel aspect in the whole Paul McCartney is dead thing.
Possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's this anomaly, like how did they get all these song titles in 1965 and album covers in 1965 that were actually all about what happened in late 1966?
Well, I think what it is, JP, and you know it as well as I do, that we are the time machines. And the key to that is our light body and Merkabas, because the Merkaba is the vehicle of light, as we know, but it's also the vehicle that's able to navigate through all multidimensional space beyond the illusion of space and time, which is created by man. So, yeah, this is why they want to dumb down everybody through all this, GMOs and all this other crap. Anything to put a dampening field onto our natural design work, really.
So yeah, Mandela effect. What's your interpretation in this illusion of time space of?
I don't know. I was looking at that and I'm thinking because we have the internet, you can modulate and change anything on the internet. You can sit there and mess with pictures and stories. But yet I've heard that the Bible was changed. So I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I haven't personally had that, but I will tell you, after that induction, as I look back, I have a lot of missing time. I have things that I was going so fast forward with the program that I don't remember a whole lot. I'm not kidding. So that bothers me. And also I'm feeling like there are things bleeding through from not my past, but somebody else's memories. So I feel like I have somebody else's memories and that bothers me. I don't know, JP. I mean, it's like, where do you begin and where do you end with this stuff? But I think the Mandela effect is something that could be a bleed through of some kind due to a distortion that they created through some kind of a time dilation of something. And I wouldn't be surprised because when they dabble, they create a distortion. They don't create things in the continuum appropriately. And then we get some kind of strange alternate reality a spin-off of something.
Well, one of the problems is the waveforms that they use is, because they're trying to do it using digital technology, they get a lot of high frequency square waves in it. And that's so you might be broadcasting at, your 2.4 gigs on your broadband, not your broadband, your Wi-Fi. But the problem is because they're square waves, you have all kinds of harmonics that are also being broadcast, and those go up in the terahertz and the petahertz, really, really tiny, tiny fine waves, that are very, harsh. It's a very harsh edge. It's the, the Dalek voice. And, this is the stuff that breaks down reality. These very high electromagnetic frequencies. So where was I going with that?
Well, you were talking about the Mandela effect, but I think you're right. I think that has a lot to do with it. There's a dimming down, as we've all touched on, the dimming down of what's happened here. But actually what's happening is they're trying to make, in my opinion, when you're trying to lower your frequency and dim something down, you're trying to hide. Yeah. You're trying to cloak. You're hiding from something out there, something that's incoming here. That's my own take on it, okay? But I really think they're trying to make themselves like quiet, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that means everybody who's broadcasting energetically. It ain't working. But I think that's what they're trying to do.
The time is the moment. Right now, I believe, the moment of the crossing. All this stuff is happening right now. And this is what they didn't expect, is that this is the time when that signal is going to be broadcast from human to human on such a level that their electromagnetic toys are not going to have anything to do with it because it's magnetoelectric. It's scalar.
Right.
And
they've been, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, is that, the things that block scalar are different from the things that block electromagnetism.
Well, I will tell you after where I've been, and I really, the more I'm looking at this, I'm going to have to really look into Sean's book and look at him and talk to Sean maybe in person, because I will tell you that's the waves they hit me with, I could not block in any form of dimensional space. When they hijack your Maraba signal, that's beyond a scalar. That's a 0-point transmission that's not manufactured. Some of these scalar waves that I know people, they're manufactured by man. They're not natural in the cosmic design. Some of the ones that they're transmitting for warfare. So those are, once they manufacture them, they get poisoned. They're just a version of.
That's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about. The square edges of things.
Yep.
One of the, and this goes back to Philadelphia experiment and the Nazi bell and the fact that they leave time. This is what I was talking about. It's these high frequencies, these edges that create holes in the time-space continuum. And people, it's like creating corridors in sponge or something.
It's dead space.
Yeah.
And, they're dead zones.
And they're fixed, aren't they? They don't allow time to progress normally and, get very squishy.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a lot of holes. That's like Swiss cheese right there, but I would call them a dead zone or a dead space.
Yeah. So
very, very
this is the problem of having time traveling Nazis, because they'll run everywhere.
Unless they, what my thing is, and I think I touch on this in my book, actually I do, but when they break orbit, not saying the Nazis, I'm not referencing them, but when they break orbit, they have no recall of where they've been here. In other words, they become completely modulated to another species and modulated to another frequency of another multiverse or another race or another planet. So they don't have the same benchmark. In other words, it's going to be, you wouldn't recognize them. It's just like if we had somebody who was here and they took them off planet for, for however long, and they come back, they're going to be aliens.
They could be Captain Cook.
Yeah. They could be the tall grays.
Yeah.
Because, when you get off planet, you don't look the same. You start modulating to your multidimensional design.
Really?
You also start looking like you start looking like your soul extensions or your celestial benchmark, which is extraterrestrial. If you're a Lyrian or a Lyran or if you're whatever species you are, you're going to start taking on the components of looking like one of them. Because you're a shapeshifter naturally, but what's happening is you're based on energy. You're an energy being. Your modulation changes, your frequency changes, everything morphs you to a point where you start looking differently. Remember the movie Dune, where their eyes change? I mean, that was due to the spice, but I'm just trying to make a point. The point is you'll change due to your environment. Your whole frequency, your whole design work will start adapting.
It's like the flamingos that go pink when they eat the prawns.
Right. Yeah, so you'd notice that, and also there'll be a memory lapse where that's why there's missing time when people get pulled in to a different type of a program like covert or extraterrestrial, because they're out of time. They're not working in time. So therefore there is no time in the illusion of that time was created by man. And that's another thing that people have to look at too. I've been in altered spaces. We're multidimensional beings. So when you go into different places and navigate, and if you don't remember it, that's something to look at.
We have a lack of continuity of consciousness. And at this point, we are going to take a break in the continuity of consciousness that is the conversation between that being in the illusion of being Solaris BlueRaven and that being which is also known as Jay of the Peas. Thank you so much, my love. It's been another
My
breakneck speed of just amazing downloads, and thank you so much, Solaris. It's been
And likewise, JP, I want to say I love you. I think you're a wonderful person, and I always enjoy our conversations because we speak outside this illusion here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Solaris BlueRaven. It's been brilliant. So good night, everybody, and
Hey, everybody.
stand by for some World Healers with Frank Jordan.